Mi hermano, my brother David, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Fantastic. So please do me a favor and tell our audience who you are.
Yeah, David Fernandez. I transitioned out of the Marine Corps 3 years ago and have had the great opportunity to work at a number of spaces since, including Google, interning at Goldman Sachs, and now I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Um, Yogi and I met. Has it already been like it's been a couple months now, huh?
It has.
Yeah, a while ago, and just really connected and synced on just energy, but also philosophy. And I think a lot of it was wrapped around that change from being in the military to being your own person and all the blessings and freedom that comes with it, which can be overwhelming, um, as well as some of the things that we will not miss too. But I don't know if we'll have time to talk about all that today.
I want to give a quick shout out to our brother that is joining us. Is All Clear Gear. He is serving, or he is not serving. He's already out, but he is here in the Camp Pendleton area. And what he does, he has an awesome business of cleaning the gear and helping Marines, the combat gear that you guys get it all cleaned up, prepped, and ready to shot it, and then get it back to the military so that you guys can transition out.
Oh wow,
He's
nice.
made a whole business out of it. It was a big deal because they gave him a cease and desist letter to kick him out of the base, and it was ridiculous. But that pushed them into getting off base, and now he has his business is flourishing as it was meant to be.
And it's funny that that came up. And let me know if I need to get back on an agenda or anything.
No, no agenda. Let's just talk. Let's
Yeah,
just talk to talk.
that though goes into a lot of what we talk about. It's already an awkward feeling and phase of your life where you're letting go of something that is not only been a part of your life, but corely affected who you are and what you stand for. Like anyone who serves, even if it's just for the financial benefits, it has to become your life just because of the nature of serving your country in the military. And so leaving that already feels weird and awkward. You feel selfish too because it's going from serving your country and with your unit and whatnot to following your own desires and ambitions and whatnot, which is a good thing as you grow and as things change in your life. But it's those little flicks on the nose that just kind of remind you of like, yeah, I'm so not going to miss this. Like this whole thing about base access, that is one of the many things that you know I feel like pushes me away from going back to old spots or getting on base anymore. And I'm happy to hear that this guy like just took it out and said, "Fine, I'll just do it off base," and is thriving because of it. Which is also a problem that comes out of leaving the military. I cannot even begin to, and I know everyone has a story like this, but turning in your SIF gear, man, and it's even worse for people who actually use it for real. I've heard just ridiculous stories about that as well.
And so he found this problem. So I don't have any secure. So I don't know the nightmares, right?
Yeah,
Nor do it's like trying to relate to something that I really have no idea what it is about, right?
yeah,
I can understand the complexities of it, but it doesn't make sense that you're using your gear 20 years later, you got to turn it in.
yeah.
And it needs to be the same, brand new like it was fucking when they issued it out to you. It
Not
makes no sense.
and
It's
it's way
like let
like
let me wear a pair of boots,
yeah.
that I'm gonna wear out every month, and in 20 years, I want the first pair of boots that got issued to me to turn them back in. Tell me how that makes sense.
It doesn't, and it's like forcing someone to buy a really poor brand of something. I don't want to talk shit about any specific brand, but you're forced to buy this low tier brand that is heavy, outdated, and doesn't always work. And let's say you don't use it, right? You had to pick it out, and then you return it, and then there's going to be someone who's trying to save our nation 5 cents by pointing out, hey, like this here is not like crisp enough or clean enough. And if you do use it, like I was saying on deployment, I've had friends tell me that, yeah, I could not turn in my SIF gear. because it had blood on it after I was in combat. And it wasn't even mine, it was my buddies, you know? And so they're dealing with that. And on top of that, you have to pay for this overpriced material that goes into the whole nature of.
Hey, All Clear Gear wants to jump in. You cool with that?
Yeah, go for it. I probably triggered.
Dude, sending him the link right now. Oh man, this just got good. All right, All Clear Gear, you're getting a message right, meow. Let me know if you got it. But no, I mean seriously, it's what you said is you are going through this transition, right? That we already know that it's a very difficult and challenging transition.
Yeah.
Yet you want this to be perfectly clean. But as you mentioned, I mean, how feasible is it to say, hey, not only do I want it to be perfectly clean, but I also want it to be um all of the memories,
Mhm.
all the things that are attached to that. If you served in a combat zone and you, just like you mentioned, you have the blood of not just you, your friends, your buddies, it also helps you re-traumatize yourself.
Yeah. And then for someone to trivialize that and make you literally pay for it, that's what
Right.
it is such a disconnect between, and sometimes they're veterans too, but the contractors that work on bases to get this mission done. And I understand, right? Like I have a job, this is what I'm supposed to do. But there is such a gross, just what's the term for it? Like when people
Economy?
completely no, when they don't even take into consideration the human that they're looking at on the other side of that, you know?
Yeah, you're just a number. You
It,
become just a number.
yeah,
You
it's
become desensitized. You're no longer seeing them as a person that is going through the transition, and you're seeing them as like, dude, I've seen hundreds of you guys. You guys all do the same thing.
yeah,
Why not? It's not your problem. Why are you're taking the empathy, you're taking the connection of that human dynamic
yeah.
away from us.
No, and this it's funny too because it's not even a functional thing. I'm not telling everyone not to clean their sick gear before turning it in. Like, take, put it in the laundry if you can. Clean it however you can, but past being clean and sanitary, stains and stuff like that, and even damage to it. If you're using it, well, that's what I'm using it for. And there's got to be a better way than making our veterans who are already going through this process to get out of the military pull out of pocket when a lot of times we don't have a plan. We just know that we need to get out, and to add more financial burden on that because this stuff it's overpriced. It really is. You'd be amazed. Oh my gosh,
Of course.
has
And
any
everybody, and there's the economy, right? Everybody has to get their own pennies to be able to make it happen,
yeah
right? And then for someone that doesn't know any better, right? They're just trying to just get stuff done. They're willingly overpay just to not be a burden in their mindset, in their
yeah
psyche.
yeah
Wow, that's intense. So while we wait for All Clear Gear to join us, uh, tell me more about why you joined in the first place. Why'd you join the military of all things? And the Marine Corps, we forgive you. Close enough to the Navy, so it's all right. Uh you couldn't join the best. You went to the Naval Academy, and then you chose to go sidetrack. Oh, see, and with a nick of time,
There we go.
yeah
all clear to save the day.
Sorry, guys. It wasn't letting me open it on the in the app. So apologize about that.
It's all good, my brother. Welcome. As we're talking
David,
about you, let's go ahead, bro.
David, I apologize for freaking barging in like that. Sorry, I was just trying to support the
yeah
stream.
not at all, man, not at all. It's great to hear about you and your journey too, and that it's funny like when I hear those moments where I feel like it's a little disrespect too when people try and again those flicks on the nose, hey, you can't do this on base, and
Yeah.
going as far as issuing you a cease and desist order. those kinds of things always like bring back a lot of pain and frustration in the whole process. And even when I was in, like years before I got out, and the kind of shit that we have to eat, take, and keep moving forward despite. And it's taken me literally like years to make peace with all that, because you don't think it's important. You don't have time to realize how important it is and how much it hurts until you have a moment of rest and separation from it all.
Yeah.
But I love how that story ends, because at the end you were just like, I'll just do it off base, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that was kind of always what was supposed to happen. It was just me being protected all the way up until that point. And you just said it, like you finally reach a moment where, you know, you can rest, and then all of those emotions and all of the hormones and everything rushes. As a matter of fact, it was like 2 months ago now that happened to me, where I had a moment where I was resting and I just have so much going on, the base, like everything going on with the base, you know, and it was 1:30 in the morning, 1:45 in the morning. I woke up out of my sleep and I just had so much pain in my chest and my the base of my skull, and I was like freaking out. Like I woke my wife up and I was like, "Hey, like I just want to let you know I feel like I'm dying right now." And
I
she's
feel like I'm
like,
having a heart attack.
"Yeah, no, literally."
No,
And
I know, I know.
she gets up out of bed because I had an episode a long time ago with like bee pollen during like a 14-day fast. I went into anaphylactic shock. Long story short, um and so I thought, you know, she's like, not another round of this, you know? And she's like, do I call the ambulance? Like, do I call? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just hold on a second. I was like shaking. The pain was getting worse, more tight in my chest. Like I was like tunnel visioning. I thought I was gonna pass out, throw up, like all of it. And I just remember she was on the phone with the paramedics, and I was like, hey, give me a kiss, because I'm not too sure what's happening next. You know, I literally thought I was dying. And she's like, what? And I was like, just give me a kiss. I kissed her, and then like I almost blacked out, but then like my vision was like slowly, like my window of vision was like opening back up.
Yeah.
Long story short here, I had like a severe panic attack in the middle of the night, woke up out of my sleep, and I just had, my body got to rest for a little bit, and all of that just came flooding down. And so I feel that.
Man, and you have no idea
Wow.
like how common that is to. What was your MLS, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a diesel mechanic
Okay.
by trade, but I did everything but that, and anybody that served with me can tell you.
No, man, it's so funny you say that. I remember, and let me take this moment too to just say for everyone in the transition process, like shout out to the spouses, the really real friends, the close friends, the family, because in life in general, and this is especially, I feel like, for our breed, it is so much easier to give grace to someone else than it is yourself. And so things start to happen, we don't even, we can't compute it, because it just doesn't make sense. You know, when you hear about panic attacks and you're in, it's like, oh, like this dude couldn't hack it, or
Totally.
yeah, like, or in Spanish, as you say, like mas puto, you know, like,
yeah.
But so I had a similar experience where I would wake up random nights and I couldn't breathe. But then you're like, huh, that was weird. Go back to sleep. And you know,
right. Don't think anything of it. Yeah.
I survived it. It must not be a big deal until you start talking to people about it, or they're there while you're experiencing it, and they're like, this isn't normal. You know, you should really look into this and seek help. And those are the things that really, really encouraged me and pushed me to taking my mental health seriously, which at the time I didn't think was important, as long as like I was straight and narrow. But you deal with so much, and I'm sorry you dealt. I'm happy to see that, you know.
Yeah. When the mental toll becomes a physical toll, that's when you know, like, oh man, like something has to change, you know. And it talks multiple times in the Bible, like seek rest, you know, share the burden, you know, my yoke is yours, and all this stuff. And it's like that's all chatter until you start to implement it. And for me, and you know, the journey that I've been on the past 6 years, like when God wants me to rest, he will make that known. You know,
Yes.
like
Yes,
if I can't walk, I'm
100%.
using my hands. If I can't use my hands, you know, I'm laying down, I'm doing something, you know.
I
So I'm sure the feeling's mutual.
you are
100%.
smart, man. And it's funny. The body is amazing. It really is. We completely like underappreciate and undervalue the vessel that we have to walk in this world. And it's funny how it realizes, like, because the whole time you're in the military, you are in that state of, you know, from white to black, you're trying to stay in that orange yellow like alert awareness phase, right?
Yeah.
Realize you're at peace now, everything's safe, and you don't have to check your phone and worry about musters. And your body's like, got it. By the way, you have a lot of like debt to pay here regarding the stress levels and everything you've been taking on these past couple of years. Let me bring you through the inventory of what I've been repressing, because now it's time to deal with it since you have a moment.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just hits you hard.
Yeah.
Funny enough, too, I'll just say one more thing. Yogi and I actually met at a conference because I was in a cast and I was like talking to him about it.
Yeah.
I was trying to go. And then God told me no. Like, sit down, young buck. I tore my Achilles this year, and but it's been a blessing at the same time because it has forced me to stop, recollect, build everything from the ground up, physically and in my life, spiritually, and all that. So
it's all a reframing, man. And I just want to commend you for being able to do that, because it takes a lot of mature spiritual growth to occur before you can extract the good out of the negative. Because as somebody who, I mean, in business, you know, through anything worth doing, you're going to go through highs and lows. And you know, when just based off of personal experience, when I received that cease and desist letter,
yeah,
that day I reached out to my commercial real estate agent that I've known for 3 years, that I've been searching for a spot for over 4 years for. Hadn't talked to him in 2 years. I reached out the same day I got the letter. There was a space that was available. Not only was it available, but it had everything I needed. The price was the price that I needed, the square footage, upgraded electricity, gas, water, drainage, everything I needed. And I was like, that's why. That's why
Right
I'm
time,
getting the
right
chills.
place, right mission.
Preparation meets opportunity, bro. Like,
it's there's no coincidence with that either. You know,
how many coincidences have to occur
yeah,
before you realize, oh, this is the path? You know what I'm saying? I tell people, like, hey, you got into an accident because you're drinking. Like, how much drinking have you done and driving before you've reached that point? You know, it's like, let's put 2 and 2 together here.
And there's one lesson I want to promote in this world is to stop, take a moment, and try and listen to these whispers of the world and the universe trying to point you in a direction, and just, if at the very least, help you appreciate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason that we have to pause, reflect, and pay attention. But when you do, it's funny, but it's also embarrassing about like how much I feel like so many boulders at my head to get me to pay attention, you know, like, oh yeah, but and finally, you know, it takes a torn Achilles for me to really sit down and pay attention for the second time, you know, because as soon as I feel like I got it the first time, oh, I can get back into it. And then he has to sit me down again and be like, no, you didn't get
You're
it.
still not listening.
Oh, yeah. But you're getting closer. And dude, also props too, because a business, like starting your own business and running that too, is super stressful. And I just know money always stresses everyone out because it's your livelihood and there's a lot that goes into it. That's why I have a job right now. But that takes a certain amount of wisdom too, and peace and mastery of the self to move forward and appreciate the blessings that come with those obstacles too. So props to you, man, because it is a lot.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Since we have you here.
Oh, hold on a second.
Can you hear us? That's a better question. Nope. Yes, maybe. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, that happened.
I'm having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me? Nod for
Yes,
yes.
we can hear you.
Okay. I cannot hear you. That's
Blink
probably my
twice, you
cue.
can hear us.
I really got to get going, but I
All right,
still
brother.
can't hear you. But I really appreciate you for crashing this thing. Let's connect offline. And Yogi, I'm looking forward to our thing one day. So hope you guys have
Absolutely.
a great rest of your day. Oh, there you are.
You can hear us?
I can hear you now. What the heck?
Okay,
My
good.
wife was calling in the middle. I was like, disconnect. All right, gents. I'll let you get
All
back
right,
to it. Thank
brother.
you so much for your time.
God bless.
Anytime, and stay strong, my brother. We'll see you
All right.
soon.
God bless you guys. All right.
God bless.
Man, that was amazing.
Yeah,
I
bro.
see how our conversations go too unplanned, but we go on these tangents, and that was awesome. That was, God, man.
And then with that, how does that feel? What just happened right now?
It's, you know, you always roll your eyes when you hear like cheesy phrases and sayings that people repeat all the time, but they're very true. And with this one, the one that comes to mind for me is like when you go for charity and like I went to give, but I got so much more out of it, kind of thing. Like I'm just here trying to share my insights of the lessons I've learned, and then I have something happen, this random occurrence where someone crashes our party, so to speak. His words, not mine, though. That was a blessing, and just kind of not only speaks his truth to something that I'm trying to combat and shed light on, but also every time that you talk to someone like that, it validates and reaffirms what you went through, you know? And I think the biggest mistake people make is trying to do things themselves. I think that's reinforced a lot with our hero archetypes and how they're presented in all types of media and stories and mythology. But really, the true hero is one who has an open mind and who has the strength to be vulnerable and share. Because I guarantee you, he's feeling more empowered from our brief conversation. I am, for sure. And that's how I feel every time I talk to you too. Because it's one of those things where together we are so much stronger. Divided we fall. Because when you're alone, you feel like it's just you. You feel different. You don't believe in your power and what the momentum that you're brought towards and with. But when you talk to other people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I went through the same thing." We need that sometimes to be like, "Okay, well then I'm not crazy. I'm on the right track."
Or not just that, but also it makes the boulder that you're carrying, instead of feeling like a boulder, it feels like it's just a little rock,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because then you're not just carrying it alone, you're carrying it with somebody else, or somebody else. You're seeing the other person next to you, that they've been carrying that boulder either at the same amount of time or less, and you're like, well, this guy's got to figure it out. Why can't I figure it out? Because we're
yeah,
always our worst, biggest critics, even though they might be better or worse than you. You never really know, right? But you're
yeah,
like, if he can do it, I can do it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the weight, mental and emotional weight of this boulder just becomes so much easier.
And this is why I do appreciate my time in the military, because there's so many physical manifestations of life lessons like this. If you've ever done log PT or the boat exercise, you feel it when someone drops out. But just the same, you really feel a lot lighter when someone hops in. So it's kind of the same thing, like you were just saying, like those boulders all of a sudden turn into pebbles regarding like the weight and the burden that they have on our lives.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And then with that, bro, so why, going back to what we were talking about, as I was talking a little shit,
Yeah.
why did you choose, first off, to apply for the Naval Academy when you knew that it was nearly impossible, right? Literally takes an act of Congress
Yeah.
to go to it. Um, you are of Latino descent, right? All of these things that are piled up against you. Why even try?
So for me, I had two experiences in my life where My mom worked overseas, and we had a lot of time at the U.S. embassies in both those countries. Um, and the people who protect you at those installations are United States Marines, and they're always crisp with their gear. They were always great people, and I grew up really looking up to them and seeing them as like a big brother kind of archetype. On top of that, living abroad, it really reminded me of what we have here in this country and the opportunities that a single mother was able to provide to her two boys, um, without even having the chance or money to go through and get a college education, you know. Um, and so I wanted to give back to that, and a lot of things just kind of fell into place. It's a funny story. I actually first applied to the military academy because I just thought, oh, like I want to go into the military, but I wanted Marine Corps. And my mom, she had this one stipulation: no matter what I did when I turned 18, it was going to be college first. So I just Googled how to enlist in the Marine Corps and go to college, and the first thing that popped up was the United States Military Academy, and then I found later on I wanted the Naval Academy. Um, but this is kind of like, it blows my mind looking back, because when you're younger, and I feel like we had to fight to maintain this in our lives regarding our perception of things. I didn't think about all the reasons not to and all the challenges. I just knew that I wanted something, and I was willing to work for it. And looking back, the way I thought of it now, it wasn't like, oh, I hope I get in. I knew I was going to get in. Like it was a fact before it even happened. I was just there to figure out how it was supposed to manifest. Talking to admissions. Oh, like I'm supposed to do this. Okay, I'll reach out to this person, do these physical tests, write these essays, reach out to these congressmen. And it was that simple. And I had a lot of love and support in the process too. It was by no means something I did on my own, but the mentality that really got me there was autopilot as soon as I made that choice and decision. And there's been two other times in my life where that's happened. It's when I was at the academy, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the process, but you can be there 4 years and get stuck in a whole other like MOS or service, right? You have a lot of people, for example, who want to go pilot, but the Navy realizes that they're really smart, and so they say, "Hey, you get to fly underwater because your country needs you."
I almost choked.
Yeah, no shit.
I almost
4
choked.
years, yeah. So that's a thing. But while I was there, I knew I was going to get Marine Corps, and then towards the end, I realized, hey, like why not go for Marine Air? That's more prestigious, more difficult to get. I like the people I've met who are in aviation and who fly. And then the third time that's happened in my life was when I was applying to Google. So, and I was talking to a friend about this the other night, and a little bit with you about this earlier today. The power of manifestation was definitely evident there, and it was really just because I didn't pay attention to all the negative. I just knew that I wanted it, and I went for it. And then to answer your question, like the real thing that was driving me too is that I wanted to give back. I wanted to get a great education, to hone my skills mentally and physically. And I wanted to challenge myself in the most elite force that I knew, which was Marine Corps. And the funny thing is, I didn't even know what an officer or an enlisted was. I just knew that this is what I wanted. That's just how focused I was, like tunnel vision, not necessarily, but I was that honed in. So when I showed up day one and they start talking about officership, I'm like, huh, we're going to be policemen? Like, what is this? But those two things were really, to answer your question, giving back, continuing to challenge myself and hone my skills and who I was. And at the time too, I know a huge part of that was to help myself become a man. And it took years for me to realize that a lot of that was more internal than the external challenges I was faced with. But I didn't want to shy away from something just because it was hard. In fact, that's actually what drew me towards it. The more difficult it was, the more it enticed me, because I wanted to do something that wasn't easy, that not everyone could do. And yeah, here I am.
And then with that, so you chose to join, you chose to apply, you just saw it as a checklist of things to do,
Mm,
like it was already there,
yeah,
right? While you were serving, did you feel the same way?
great question. No, when you TBS is a great introduction to the real world. Um, when
What's TBS? Tell me more.
the basic school. So once you commission as an officer in the Marine Corps, um, on paper you're excited for it because it's 6 months of them teaching you how to be a rifle platoon commander, no matter what your MOS is, because every Marine is a rifleman or woman, right? Um, and so I get there, and you, instead of working with people who are just in your class like you have the past 4 years, you meet people from other colleges, age levels, MOSs. Like we had a lot of JAGs in our class, a lot of foreign nationals too that took part in our training, and also the most influential were the prior enlisted. The
Thank
must.
you.
Yeah, no, it's and this
Yeah.
with we had some of those at the academy too, but the percentage all of a sudden it was like 50-50, right? So I had a lot more of um, of that pool of people to come and work with. And what I noticed is that just like at the academy, they were always the best at what they did. Now, some of that was like physical fitness and, immaculate uniforms and all that kind of stuff. Some of that was leadership. Some of that was politics. But however they got to that phase in their life, they were always the best at that avenue, that route, and those methods that they took.
And
Um,
let me pause you on that.
yeah,
Why do you think that is?
great question. I think the answer actually comes from my first year, my plebe year at the academy. My roommate at the time was a prior enlisted Marine. And he told me the way to move forward in life is to essentially double down at your strengths because you're already good at them. So you just need to get better and better at them so you can navigate the world as such. Um, Ironically for him, it kind of ended his journey at the second year at the academy because his strength was very political. He knew how to lean into, like, I'm a prior Marine, I've served during war times, to give people this kind of shock and awe factor so that they really appreciated him and listened to him. But then he would use that to use these smoke and mirrors effect and kind of skate and get out of things down the road. And
Mm.
him into some trouble by the second year. So,
And so I want to highlight what you're talking about right now because I do agree that it is very beautiful to use your experience to propel you,
mhm,
right?
right.
To have that conversation, double down on your strengths. I love that. Unfortunately, I think that if you're, and I think we all go through this, and it's just a matter of learning, right? And for someone to hold us accountable. Um, but the first time that we're held accountable, it sucks, but we learn from it and we do double down and we come better, right? Um, but it does allow us to become better at the strengths that we have and to be able to use that through the world, right?
Yeah,
If we use it for negative things, it'll eventually come and catch up to us.
right.
Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, because it's part of that growth, right? Mindset. But once we're able to hone down on our strengths, man, oh man, I feel like the world literally is just there for the taking. What are your thoughts?
I, you're kind of helping me realize something right now. I think, and part of this is me underestimating myself for the solid adult years, formative years of like throughout my 20s. But I didn't really know what my strengths were. And so I would always try and get good at what I was bad at. But through that process, what I noticed is we're all dealt a hand of cards, right, to play with in this game of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that TBS, and it took me years to really appreciate and
PBS.
see it for what it is. The basic school.
Oh, okay.
So that's 6 months portion. But it even bled into the academy, and then afterwards too, I started to see these same kind of patterns of people using the hand that they were dealt to get by in the world, right? But sometimes I felt like they limited themselves to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this worked on all number of levels. I think the two easiest to describe and communicate this were people who were like, so the men who were taller and had deeper voices, everyone kind of naturally gravitated to them as leaders because they looked the part. But I noticed a lot of times there was a lot of insecurity and just sense of overwhelming that were afraid of like expressing and showing. So they would take a lot of shortcuts or delegate like maybe more than they should have to get something done. And if you ever
Questioned it.
close, yeah, at poking a hole in that facade, that bubble, that persona, yeah,
Yeah.
And then even some of the people who I really did not get along with or like, I noticed that a lot of it stemmed from insecurity, and that insecurity stemmed from the limitation that they put on themselves to only use the hand that they were dealt.
Mm-hmm.
Get good at it, but when you realize who you really are as like an entity in this world and the power that you have to learn and grow, ironically, by being vulnerable is really what, accelerates that to by no other means that you can accomplish anywhere else, in my experience and opinion. You understand how you don't have to like you don't have to single out your strengths as a method to get what you want. You can use other means, stumble, fumble, look embarrassing, and grow. But then at the end of the day, you just gain a new tool for your toolbox to approach life and add more cards to your hand, or however you want to put the analogy, right? And that's something I've by accident kind of blessed myself with, and I'm still doing, because I feel like there's no other way really to go about it while still being honest and wholesome. You can't guard yourself off to or separate the weaker parts of yourself from the world and still connect with people truly. There's always going to be a moment in that conversation where you have to cut it off, or else they'll see, who you really are. And I think that terrifies people a lot, men and women and all ages, all demographics, all countries. Everyone who I've ever worked with, if they're not comfortable with being vulnerable and being honest, their insecurities scream louder. Like that's the funny thing about it, right? It's easier to recognize someone who's trying to act tough, like what they're weak at and what they're insecure about, than someone who's open and like, yeah, I struggle with A, B, and C or whatever, because they don't draw attention to it.
Mm-hmm. And so something I want to highlight and I want to talk about is that you mentioned briefly is the insecurities, right?
Yeah.
And also strengthening weaknesses. But part of those insecurities can become a strength and a weakness if you use it the right way. If you're part of it, if you are upfront about it and you're not ashamed. But if you want to hide it and hide it and hide it, it will eventually come out and it will become a massive weakness that you won't be able to do anything about, right? And with that being said, it takes a lot to be able to release yourself from that chain and to set yourself free, um, because it is a challenging thing that is internal only to you,
Yeah.
right? And no one else can help you through that, navigate through that. They can tell you, they can coach you, they can tell you all these things, but the reality is that it's you have to do the work and you have to figure out a way to become comfortable enough to make it a thing for you, right?
Yeah.
But no, I love that, and it's beautiful that you're highlighting that, and you can Um, the Bible talks about it. Many different books all the way across talk about it, and it's being able to see yourself for who you are, accept yourself for what you are, and not to be ashamed of it and share it, right? And then it'll become your own strength, your shield, and maybe sometimes even your sword to protect you from everything else around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, bro, I love it. I love the fact that you say that. And then you also mentioned that insecurities scream,
Yeah.
right? And I think we all want to feel like if we don't show any insecurities, everybody's gonna think that we're strong, that there's no problems, and that the world is just here, taking care of us.
Yeah.
Um, but the reality of the fact is that the more that we talk about it, the less the boulder that we were talking about, the proverbial boulder that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
the more we take power away from it, the stronger we become, and the less things that we have to hide about them. So it's beautiful that you mentioned that, my brother. Um,
Yeah.
but with that, we're gonna start wrapping it up. For now. Oh, for the record, everybody, this was our debut. David is gonna be joining us, and we're gonna be talking a lot more. A lot more. And just like today, if we have any guests that want to jump up on the podcast and have a conversation with us, hey, let's make it happen. Shoot us an email, yogi@miltuvet.com. Send us a message on any one of the platforms that you're streaming us on, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, on the website. Shoot us a message. We'll reach out to you. We're very easily to find, especially this guy. Beep. So shoot us a message and then we'll communicate, we'll collaborate, and we'll share your story and we'll have fun with it. Anything else you want to say, David?
No, I just appreciate the time as always. We always talk about very overlooked topics that I feel are very crucial and important for everyone. So thank you again for bringing me on to this and introducing me to someone new today too. It's been a great day.
So, as always, my brothers and sisters, reach one, teach one, grow one. Miltivet out. We all waters that rise together lift all ships. Remember that. If we stick together, we can help move the world. Until then, Miltivet out. Peace.